Alright, so instead of playing the new Call of Duty that dropped today, I'm going to be talking about the Peripheral Episode 3. If you guys saw my last video on the Peripheral Episodes 1 and 2, my thoughts on it have been, I think it's alright so far. I don't love it. I am intrigued by it. I am interested in the themes and the overall story. So in this video, I'll be talking about Episode 3, doing a full-on recap, which means I'll be talking about everything that happened while also giving my thoughts on it. And then by the end of this video, I'll slap a rating on it. And we can maybe talk about the future, maybe some predictions. And then comment down below if you guys have any predictions or any thoughts on the show, what you think of it on this episode. Comment down below. And if you guys enjoyed this recap and review, please make sure to like it. Please subscribe if you are new as we talk about this show every single week and plenty of other things as well. So let's just talk about the Peripheral Episode 3. Alright, so in order to start with the beginning of this third episode, we have to talk about the ending of the second episode. So in the second episode at the end, we saw that Flynn's mother was able to get her sight back, right? She was blind and now she can see again because of what Wilf and Lev did from the future. They were able to prove to her that all this was real and it's not just in her mind or it's not just some weird versus reality thing. They can actually change the past because they're from the future, having her mom now be able to see, right? So because of that, Flynn, the main character, goes into the future. And that's where she learns that Pickett, the main bad guy of the show, has been hired to take her out. He's part of that bounty. And so she says, give me an hour. I'll come back. Let me go warn my brother or whoever. Let me figure this out. And then I'll come back, right? So she goes back. She tells her brother, Burton. And then he says he's going to come up with a strategy to get him under their control, right? So with this review, and for the things that I feel like aren't really huge or things that I feel like I can't really give my thoughts or interpretation on too much, I sort of like go by them pretty quickly. And then towards the end, if they play into like the big reveal towards the end, I'll elaborate on it more. So if you're new here, that's just something that I do. I go by the recap kind of quickly. But then if there are things that are confusing or there are big moments, I'll focus a good amount of time on those. So continuing on after this, Flair shares her whole situation with her friend Billy Ann. Billy Ann is married to Jasper's nephew. This will be a big thing, especially towards the end. So I'll elaborate more of it towards the end. But it's a big deal because now she told her everything. She told her about the future, how she actually believes in it, what's going to happen, like all these things in the future. So by telling the wife, Burton gets a little mad about this because the relationship between a wife and a husband, they don't usually maybe keep secrets from each other, depending on the relationship, obviously. But Burton believes it was a bad idea that Flynn told her friend because of his relationship with his uncle, literally because the uncle is the one that's trying to kill them, right? So on Flynn's part, it definitely wasn't a good idea. I think it was pretty dumb. I think Burton was sort of like in the right here. But Flynn does have the argument that Billy Ann was her only friend, right? And this is a whole big thing. She's not going to just keep it to herself. So she needed to tell someone, right? So after this, we see Burton take the measures into his old hands. He goes to Pickett wherever he is, like in some restaurant, and he tries to intimidate him, and while also offering cash, right? So I think the payout for their bounty was millions or something, right? So he says, "I'll offer you $200,000 a week to stay away from us, to forget about all this, to not kill us, and I'll give you $200,000 a week." So Pickett, he's not intimidated at first. Until Burton has all his military friends around. He has like a sniper shot, hit his glass, like a warning shot, and he says the next time it's going to hit your ear. And so I guess Pickett agrees on it. As we see towards the end, he gets the money. So besides the story though, like my thoughts on the show up to this point after seeing what we saw so far. Also in the beginning, we have like that little scene where it shows sort of Pickett's character, where back in the day when his son was little, the nephew, sorry, not the son. They intimidate and kill. I don't know if they kill those bike riders. We didn't really see the death of them, but he traps them in the car. I would think the bike riders would get out and just start pummeling them. So I don't really know if they killed that gang or not. We don't really see by the end. But my thoughts on the show up to this point, my one problem with it, I do have a couple problems with it, but I feel like it's very bland and like monotone. Like the way they speak, the conversations are very sort of boring. There's really no other word to describe it. I said that in the last video too. Like I do find the show pretty boring in a way. I think the themes and the elements and the story are interesting, but how it's written, how it's kind of shown and directed, and just like the overall tone of it, I do find bland and not really engaging. Like I have to really make myself locked in when I feel like for a show that's futuristic like this, it's weird to go back and forth from like in the future. It's like these weird country vibes. Like I said, this intimidation scene, it feels very country-ish, so it just feels sort of like a weird tones going back and forth. I feel like the pacing is also a little bit off. So that's just my thoughts up to this point. All right, so after this, we focus on a character called Aelita West. We see a little background scene between, I don't know if I should call him Wilford or Wolf. As we know, his real name was Wolf, and then his family renamed him Wilford. Him and Aelita West was in some sort of orphanage together. They got adopted together. But now she's missing in the future, right? That's 7 years after where Peripheral mostly takes place. So we're trying to find her. That RI facility is trying to find her as well. I think her name is Charis, the main villain. I only know her in that one show called The Haunting of Bly Manor. Same guy that made The Haunting of Hill House. Great show. I think Bly Manor was great as well. I think she was great in that show as well, and she's pretty good here so far. We only haven't really gotten too much of her. But she's trying to find Aelita West, right? Which we don't really know why. There's a lot of questions right now that I personally can't answer just because we haven't seen it yet. But she's trying to go after Aelita West. We don't know why she's really going after her right now. While she's also trying to kill Flynn and her brother, right? Which we don't know why either. Like, why is she going after these two people that, for right now, haven't really done anything? I'm sure by the end we'll see like what really caused, or what they've done, or what they haven't done to really cause this RI facility to go after them. So at this point, they get some clues. There's this thing called Where Snow Last Fell in London. I'm sure you guys remember it. Again, with this show, it's sort of like I feel like I know what's going on, while also like not knowing what's going on. I don't know if you guys get those same vibes. It's sort of like I get the grand gist of like what's happening, like where we're going and where things are moving by watching. But then there are times where like they're talking and I'm like, I don't know like what's. It's not that I don't know what's happening. I'm just like I'm not fully 100% engaged or understand like where we're moving or where we're going to. And I also do find the most not interesting aspects, the most I guess engaging again aspect is when they focus on Jasper in the past and like his hunt for them, because that feels like the most like immediate danger. Like when they go on that mission, I guess I call it mission, where she goes into the future with Wilford and they're trying to track down that girl and they have to fake being in a relationship. I feel like that whole story, it's like we're not really going to get any real conclusion or answers to like the very end. Where I feel this stuff with Jasper, it's like it's now, like it's happening now. It's immediate danger. It's something that we have to address now as he's coming after us and we're paying the money. And the thing with the nephew and the friend and everything, I thought that was all interesting. You know, I actually enjoyed it, and like him not wanting to take the money, I thought that was all cool. Before that, seeing the whole like relationship thing with them, it's fine. Obviously, like he looks at her as a real person. Like in that first scene when they take her out of the box, it's that one guy, I forgot his name's Lev. He says, that we keep things in a box, so it's like it just shows that like he sees her as a thing that they can use, while Wilford sees her as a real person that he has feelings for, right? As we see towards this scene where they're going on that mission, and they have to kiss or whatever. It shows that they do have feelings for each other. You have to have a love interest, right, in any type of show. So it's fine. I just don't think it's like that engaging. But back to where I was talking about, where snow last fell in London. They're trying to figure out what that means. Flynn says it might be like a person. And this is where it actually made me start laughing a lot. When she's like, Snow, maybe it could be a name. And then Wilfred's like, Jon Snow. And I'm just like, is this a Game of Thrones thing? Like, why are we just bringing up Jon Snow? Like, that's such a famous line in all of television history. Not line, a famous name in all of television history. Why are you putting in the show? But I guess, it's based on a book. Maybe the book used it first, even though Game of Thrones book came out in 1996. I don't know when this book came out. But just hearing, like, Jon Snow, like, in a different show, it just made me laugh a lot. I thought it was kind of funny and silly just have it in there. And I couldn't get my mind off it. I was laughing about the Jon Snow line for the next couple of minutes after this. But this leads them back to Aelita's secret house, where they go in there and they find a bunch of like dead peripherals. Flynn sort of like recognizes the place as she was there when she was operated on. We saw her like in Burton's body, like getting the eye taken out. That's the thing I mean when like I talk about how it's like this show's kind of hard to like really not recap, but it's sort of like hard to really dig into and give my thoughts on, because like I said, I know what's going on, but I also like am confused about what's going on. And I like shows like that, but I think like with the tone, like the bland tone of it, like I'm not really having fun with like that boring, confusing theme to it all. So now they're in this house, they're looking around. She sees like this, it shows a thing from the past. I guess it was like in that second episode where Bert and his military friends like took out the other people in the house. She finds like figurines of them. I don't really know what this means. But then we see that the two people, Daniel that works for Charisse, right? That's her name. And the robot are there. So they start fighting, right? There's like this weird weapon that they use. And they kind of like get Daniel down on his knees. The guy sort of knows he's about to die. So he starts talking, saying that Charisse is going to like do whatever she can to kill you. Like you're not going to be able to stop her. All this stuff, right? So then the robot that he's with, who is controlled by Charisse, comes in and sort of kills him before he can say anything else, which again doesn't really help us as the audience, as we're still confused about like why Charisse is actually going after Flynn, what Flynn sort of did to upset Charisse. So it's the third episode. It's going to take time to have some more big reveals. So I guess it makes sense for us to not really get any answers here at this point. So that's sort of like the ending to the episode. There's, a couple other things that happened in this episode that I don't think were like too important, or like I don't want to like, I've already talked enough about those scenes. I don't want to like decipher and dissect every single scene, or else this video would be like an hour long. So now like for predictions or what I think is actually going on here, I think to really dive into this and actually think about it, I think I'm going to have to rewatch the first 2 episodes again, because I feel like there is stuff in there that will maybe give some more hints as to like why Flynn is so important. We can circle back to that first episode where there's like conversations with her and Ilita West where it's like you can maybe look into that and sort of make predictions about why Teresa wants Flynn, because she has access to certain things. We can also say that Teresa, wants access to the past. Like she's trying to like maybe get into the past so that she could change stuff for the future. Maybe she isn't the real villain. Maybe someone else is. Maybe she's actually trying to stop something that's going to happen because what Flynn does or what she doesn't do, like I say. So it's like maybe the real villain is someone like Lev, who's been sort of shady and a little bit weird. And Charisse is actually not as bad as we think she is. But overall, right now, it's a lot more questions than answers. And so my rating for this episode is like a 2.8 out of 5. I think it was fine. I didn't hate it. I think it was actually a little bit stronger than the first episodes. I think just because I kind of know like what the story is now, and like the tone and everything, I sort of understand what it's gonna feel like. So I do want to just like start learning some more things and get the ball rolling a little bit more. And this episode is sort of, again, circling around the same stuff. We didn't learn too much, just some little more hints about what maybe is going on here, some people's motives, and like what Flynn could sort of play into with all this, right? Because there's a lot of things going on. There's, some sort of apocalyptic thing that happens. There's less people in the future. We're trying to find the reason of like why Charisse is going after Flynn. Barton's taking, the home front on as he's taking care of Jasper and everything that's going on with him as he's trying to kill these people. So it's like there's a lot of moving parts here, but they're interesting. It's not a terrible show. I think I'm getting a little bit more on board with it at this point in time than I was in the beginning. So we'll see where it goes. But if you guys have any predictions, or let me know what you thought of the episode down below. Are you still enjoying it? Are you still not enjoying it? I sort of got mixed reviews in that first review about people agreeing with me, saying that it was a little bit boring, and then people saying that they're actually fully on board and they actually like it. So let me know down below what you think of episode 3. And if you guys enjoyed this recap and review, please make sure to like it. Please subscribe if you are new. But I'll see you on the next episode. Have a great rest of the day.